All right, welcome back, everybody, to a very, very special edition of Willingness to Pod. Today, it is all about unemployment, and what a perfect time to discuss unemployment. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm Kevin, you know me.
I'm Eva.
I'm Thomas.
I'm Emily.
All right, and we're all going to chat it up about unemployment today. So, the first question you have to ask is, what is unemployment? Right? Like, it's a word you hear in the news, but, what is it really? And I think the answer that the average person would say is, like, there are people that don't have jobs, right? I mean, you think about it, unemployment, that's what it means. People that don't have jobs. But it's a little more nuanced than that. Isn't that right, guys?
Well, people who, right. Do you want me to...
Yeah, tell me something about
people
it,
who
Thomas.
don't have jobs who are looking for jobs. Correct?
Right.
Right.
So unemployment measures what percent of the labor force is actively working, right? Or isn't actively working. You're still looking for a job, or you just got laid off, and you're trying to get back into your old job. That's what unemployment talks about. If you're somebody who is choosing not to work, for whatever reason, you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a student full-time, like, you're choosing not to be part of the, like, full-time labor force, then unemployment doesn't apply to you at all. To kind of show how that can get a little goofy, I mean, if you look back to, like, 2010 during the recession, 2009, we had unemployment numbers that were pretty low. Maybe the economy is doing pretty good, pretty low unemployment. But a lot of what was driving that was people were leaving the labor force. People just gave up looking for jobs.
And doesn't it, like, is there a point at which it times out? Like a year or something?
A year.
A year? Okay. So even if you have been looking for a job for a year and you still are, then you're no longer counted in unemployment after that year.
So you only accounted unemployed once?
Well, for a year that you're searching.
Yeah, but if you get a job and then you're unemployed again,
Then it
then you're unemployed again. Yeah, it's kind of a, it's a goofy thing. It's a goofy way that we measure it. But just like with GDP or anything else, the way that you measure it determines what, like, the implications are. So if you're using unemployment rate to determine if the economy is healthy, well, I think most people would agree that that's not a crazy thing to do, right? I mean, unemployment rate to gauge if the economy is doing well or not. If 1 in every 4 people can't find a job, that's not a healthy economy, But if you're going to choose to measure it like that, you have to know exactly what we're talking about when we say these things, because if you think about, there's more expansive definitions of unemployment, like underemployment. So you get out of college, you got your big fancy degree, you got your master's in, public administration or something, and you're trying to find a job and you can't. So you get a job at Kroger. Well, you're employed, but, like, that's potentially we're wasting some human capital there,
Maybe.
Maybe.
But, I mean, if you believe in a market, then I think underemployment's an interesting topic. I don't know. I mean, if you believe in markets, then, like, resources would be generally allocated, like, in the most efficient ways possible. So, like, just because you went to college, I understand the idea of, underemployment. But also, like, if people are, like, getting a college degree, that might not enhance their productivity as much as you might think for some people.
I mean, maybe. And maybe there's a good point to that. But what I was just getting at is that there's a lot of underemployed people in the economy today. Like, a lot of people that are productive, intelligent, hardworking people that are not in jobs perhaps befitting them. I think that's a fair thing to say. No?
No, I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay. But so where does it come from, right? Like, where does unemployment come from? Like, why do you guys think there are people out there that don't have jobs?
They're changing fields. Or jobs, at least.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
Just somebody who was in a job and then quit it and are currently looking for a different type of job.
Okay. So that situation where somebody is actively looking for a new job and is just like in the interview process, in like there are jobs out there, I'm just trying to find them. That's called frictional unemployment, right? That just is like there's some delay between you leaving one job and you finding a new job. So at any given point, it's healthy for an economy to have some frictional unemployment.
And then the other kind would be where there's more demand for a job than the supply of that job. So like more
Not
people,
enough
more
jobs.
more supply of that job than there is demand for it, right? Because there's more workers than there are jobs available. That's what we refer to as
yes, that's
structural.
what, yeah, maybe I said
unemployment.
that the wrong way, but yes, exactly.
Yeah. So you remember in our labor market, the suppliers are us, the workers,
okay.
right?
Yeah, I was thinking from like the opposite.
Yeah,
but
you're good. Yeah. So workers become supply, and if there's not enough demand at the given price, then what are we going to have?
A surplus.
A surplus. Look
Good
at that. So, why is there structural unemployment? There's a lot of reasons, right? Maybe we're investing, kind of like Thomas was saying, maybe we're investing too many resources in degrees and trainings that aren't useful in our current economy. And so we need to start changing the way that we allocate our education. Maybe that's part of why we have structural unemployment. Maybe having a binding minimum wage in some states. If you can't afford to pay whatever the state law or the unions bargain to, and you have to cut workers to cut costs, then there's going to be some unemployment there. But there's a lot that plays into it. It's definitely complicated.
in capital,
Yeah.
yeah, all kinds of.
But the last kind of big thing I wanted to talk about on this one was the idea of efficiency wages. Right? Are you guys familiar with the efficiency wages?
Yes.
You are? Does somebody want to tell me what the idea of efficiency wages is?
Paying above the market price for a job that's high demand.
Sure. So it's when a company or a firm decides that they're willing to pay above the market price for workers. Why would you do that? Right? If I can pay my whatever bagger at Kroger's $8 an hour, why would I pay him 10? If I can find enough workers at 8, why would I pay him 10?
Incentivize harder workers.
Absolutely, right? It incentivizes your people to work harder, right? Because you can just replace them with somebody else if you need to. What else does it do? You guys think of anything?
Encourages higher quality work so that they don't lose the job.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to work higher quality for sure. What do you guys think it does to how much turnover there is?
Less turnover.
There's going to be less turnover. It's very expensive to train new employees in most fields, I would say. It's very expensive to train new employees. So you can waste time and money doing that, or you can just pay a little more and find people that are going to stick for a while. And the last kind of reason that you would want to do that I don't think of right away is, well, if you want your workers to work hard, you have to help them be healthy, right? So you can't pay them so little that you can't pay them a starvation wage if you expect them to do healthy person work,
It's true.
Yeah.
So there is some incentives to pay more than you have to for workers. I think. I wish I saw more of it in the economy. I think a lot of jobs end up being determined not by an efficiency wage, but by either the minimum wage or union collective bargaining. But I would like to see, I think that's something we could encourage as a society. It's go ahead and pay somebody right so that they'll work hard and actually commit to it. Because, if you look around at the places that, I work a part-time job at a retail place, that's the kind of place where nobody gives a crap, right? You know, everybody's just punching the clock. Get me out of here. I don't want to deal with this customer for 2 more minutes. Well, maybe if you were making $20 an hour instead of 7, you'd be like, I'm willing to really put on a smile for this customer, you know? I'm leaving happy because I actually put in a good day's work for a good day's pay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think there are many, psychologically, for sure. I mean, just, like, the hierarchy of needs. Like, if you know that you have, enough food and have your rent paid, maybe you just have more, mental resources to allocate toward your job. And,
Sure.
I mean, as a company invests in you, you feel more attached to that company as well. So wherever you're working, if, Walmart invests heavily in its employees and everybody knows that if you work here that this company genuinely cares about you. I just use Walmart as an example. I don't really know that much about them, but then maybe people will just care more. And
It'd be mutually beneficial to the employees and the employers.
But if we
Sure.
believe in markets,
but if you have a job that takes almost no time to train someone, you know,
there's definitely less incentive.
then and you could find somebody very, very quickly at a very small rate to replace somebody who leaves because of high turnover, then maybe increasing the wage by $2 isn't enough. Like, if you're paying somebody $8 and you're living in, San Francisco, I mean, they might have a higher minimum wage or something, somewhere that's expensive, and you're paying them even $10, that probably still isn't enough to live anyway. So, even if you could raise it to 12 or 14 or 15, then, they probably still couldn't live anyway, and you're just bearing a higher cost that wouldn't change the amount of turnover.
It's a good point as well. It reminds me of when I was but a teen, a late teen. I went to work in a warehouse for a week, and I was trained for all of 45 seconds, and all I did was I grabbed a piece of mail, I scanned it on a scanner, and threw it in another box.
Nice.
And so just grabbing, scanning, throwing, grabbing, scanning, throwing, and they wanted you to do I don't know, 600 an hour or something like that, 1,000 an hour. There were people there that were clearly pros at this job, but they also mostly employed interns, or not interns. What do they call them? Temps, right? It was a temp agency was who I got the job through. But I definitely think in a situation like that, where there is little to no cost to training somebody new, maybe the best way is to just get temps. But I don't think that those companies are happy with the level of work that they're getting from the temps. They would rather just hire somebody that's going to be productive and pay a little more. At least in a lot of situations. My dad worked managing warehouses his whole life and has said that to me many times. He hates temps. He would much rather just have another employee that's going to be there for more than a month.
Yeah. I mean, when I worked at McDonald's, the turnover rate was 75% a month or something. Yeah. People would go in, do their training, and be like, this is terrible, never come back. A lot of people do that. So, I mean, it was a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
Huge waste of time to train all those people. Yeah.
So within 2 months, you were the oldest person there.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Unemployment. What a topic. I think it's probably worth mentioning. I hate to do it to them, but we do have record claims for unemployment right now.
I wonder why.
I wonder why.
I don't
There's
know
probably
what could have caused
there's
that.
probably some reason.
Some weird going on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe.
We should try and get to the bottom of that.
What's going on?
10 times as many claims for unemployment as during the Great Recession.
Have you seen the
10
graph?
times.
Have you
Yes.
seen the graph for it? The graph doesn't even look real.
It
Of
So
claims.
insane.
It's
Yeah.
flat at around 500,000, and then in the last week there's been 7 million. It's
The graph, if you if you took out the last 2 months, it's a completely different y-axis.
Oh, yeah. You don't need all
Yeah.
that extra numbers.
Right.
Yeah.
You see a small spike in 2008, 2000, like around the like the recession then. But
A
man.
mess.
and they're
Yeah.
predicting more in the upcoming
Oh, yeah.
month. So, I mean, there's got to be. Nobody's reopening.
Yeah. That's a whole slew of problems.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Stay tuned for more. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.